The president signed executive action on Friday night invoking the Alien Enemies Act. That's a 1798 law. It's been used 3 different times in American history: War of 1812, World War I, and World War II. This law isn't without controversy, but one thing still stands is that it exists on the books. He invoked it. They didn't advertise that he signed this executive order, which is unusual because normally there's a lot of fanfare around these executive actions. They started getting together these members of Tren de Aragua to export them to El Salvador, where El Salvador has agreed to hold them in their prisons.
Yes, this was happening all in kind of real time. There were planes being loaded up. There were planes taking off at the same time the ACLU tried to step in.
ACLU finds out about it, rushes to court in Washington state, where they get a judge to issue a 14-day pause on this while they can have hearings about whether it's a constitutional use of this power. This power allows for the deportation of enemies of the United States that are not U.S. citizens without due process. It's not in the immigration law. It's in a wartime powers law. And now there are people trying to argue there's no wartime.
Well, this is a time of war because Biden allowed millions of people, many of them criminals, many of them at the highest level. They emptied jails out. Other nations emptied their jails into the United States. That's an invasion. They invaded our country. So this isn't, in that sense, this is war.
So war in a different way, a war in a different context.
This is a group that has been now designated a terrorist organization, foreign terrorist organization, by the United States State Department. So there's a lot of untested legal theory here. But what now the left is crying foul on is that this is a constitutional crisis because 2 planes took off. They had over 200 members of these gangs being taken to El Salvador. The ACLU's suit was based off 5 of those individuals. And the court order comes down and says you have to halt doing this. However, 2 of these planes were already over the Yucatan Peninsula, well out of United States jurisdiction and territory. Those planes did not turn around. They landed in El Salvador and delivered the criminal migrants to the El Salvadorians. The left is saying constitutional crisis. The White House is saying there was no jurisdiction. They were over international waters.
Sure, it's not the traditional sense of a war with another country, but in many ways, it has been an ongoing battle, really for the last, however long, but really for the last few years, as the fentanyl crisis has skyrocketed and all of this has happened, to now say we got to do something about it. So if you have to evoke certain rules, they're there for a reason.
So if you look at, for instance, fentanyl, if you look, for instance, at the country of Canada, Canada has lost more of its citizens to fentanyl than they lost in World War II. And so if you now apply the numerical data to the United States is losing tens of thousands of Americans. And so we are, in some sense, at war with these criminal gangs, and the president is trying to address it.
Is the left really prepared to open up the Pandora's box that could come if they win against the Trump administration? And then you look back at actions by Barack Obama, by President Biden, when they used their abilities under the global war on terror to carry out actions that wouldn't necessarily be normal without authorization by Congress abroad, in the Middle East, in Yemen.
You are absolutely correct. Any decision, for instance, by the United States Supreme Court, basically clawing back the president's authority will have huge implications going forward.
We are so excited to announce the ACLJ's brand new app, completely redesigned to provide you with the best tools available to partner with us at the ACLJ. You can watch the daily Seculo program, sign the petitions, customize your ACLJ membership experience, donate with the click of a button, and receive up-to-the-minute critical updates that the mainstream media can't censor. Just scan the QR code on your screen or go to your phone's app store, search ACLJ, and click install. It's that simple.